Every single day, you're broadcasting a signal. You may not see it, but the world feels it. Your aura is either pulling wealth toward you or pushing it away. And the truth is, money doesn't respond to hard work alone, it responds to energy. The question is, what kind of magnet are you? Because the moment you learn to train your aura, the moment you shift your identity, your emotional state, your focus, everything changes. Wealth stops running from you and starts chasing you. Your energy sets the entire tone of your life. Most people walk through the world thinking circumstances shape them, thinking luck determines outcomes, thinking wealth belongs to a chosen few. But the truth is far more powerful. Your aura, your emotional, psychological, and physical energy is broadcasting a constant signal. And that signal is either attracting or repelling the very things you say you want. You've met people who walk into a room and instantly change the atmosphere. They don't even speak, yet something about them commands attention, respect, or comfort. That's aura, that's energy. And whether you're conscious of it or not, you're carrying that same invisible force everywhere you go. The difference is whether your energy is working for you or against you. Your aura is not some mystical concept floating in the clouds. It's the emotional vibration created by your beliefs, your state, your habits, and your identity. It's the electromagnetic field of your confidence, your certainty, your expectation. When your energy is aligned with growth, wealth, and possibility, you naturally attract opportunities, ideas, and people that match that frequency. When your energy is filled with doubt, fear, scarcity, or resignation, you push those things away. People feel your energy before they hear your words, and life responds to you based on that energy. Most people don't realize that their aura is shaped long before they take action. It's shaped in those little moments when you wake up and decide what state you're going to live in today. When you choose whether to be grateful or frustrated, when you commit to a vision or sink into old patterns. Every thought you repeat becomes part of your energy. Every emotion you hold becomes part of your atmosphere. Every belief you reinforce becomes the gravitational force pulling your life in a specific direction. So if you want wealth, you can't just want it intellectually. Your entire energy system has to vibrate with the belief that it's yours to claim. Your aura becomes a magnet when you learn to master your internal state. Wealth is attracted to people who radiate certainty, because certainty is power. Wealth moves toward people who carry confidence, because confidence is contagious. It seeks out people who stand in possibility, because possibility is expansive. When your emotional home is grounded in gratitude, inspiration, and conviction, the world responds differently to you. You walk into rooms differently. You speak differently. You take risks differently. You listen differently. And the opportunities that once passed you by suddenly stop and gravitate toward you. Think about the last time you were around someone who was deeply stressed, overwhelmed, or uncertain. You could feel their energy draining the room. Now think about the last time you were around someone who was on fire, someone who was hungry, passionate, unstoppable. Their energy elevated you without them even trying. That's the same effect your aura has on the world around you. You can't fake the internal frequency you live in. You can pretend with your words, but your energy exposes the truth. And the universe responds to truth, not performance. When you understand this, you start paying attention to the inner environment you're cultivating. You stop blaming the economy. You stop blaming people. You stop blaming timing. Instead, you ask, what energy am I broadcasting? What state am I choosing? What frequency am I living in? Because wealth doesn't come to the person who needs it the most. It comes to the person whose aura says, I am ready, I am aligned, I am capable, I am certain. Your aura becomes magnetic the moment you take responsibility for it. The moment you stop letting external circumstances determine your internal experience. The moment you choose to raise your standards for how you show up emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And once you make that shift, wealth stops being a chase and becomes an attraction. You're no longer running after opportunities. They begin finding you. You're no longer trying to convince people to believe in you. They feel your conviction before you speak. You're no longer hoping something changes. You are the change. Everything begins with your energy. Everything begins with the aura you decide to cultivate. And if you want to pull wealth towards you, you must first become the kind of person whose energy commands it. Because wealth is not just earned, it is attracted. Your identity is the engine behind everything you attract in life. Most people walk around believing that desire alone creates change. They think wanting success, wanting wealth, wanting freedom is enough. But desire without identity is like planting seeds in sand. You can hope, you can pray, you can water all day long, but nothing grows because the foundation isn't built to hold it. You don't get what you wish for, you get what your identity is wired for. And until you shift that identity, your aura will keep pulling in the same patterns, the same limitations, the same results you keep trying to outrun. Look back at your life for a moment. You've probably had moments where you were motivated, pumped up, ready to go all in. Maybe you set big goals. Maybe you made big promises. But a week later, a month later, you found yourself drifting back to your old behaviors. Not because you're weak, not because you're lazy, but because your identity, the story you believed about who you are, pulled you back to what felt familiar. Your aura doesn't respond to temporary motivation. It responds to the internal blueprint you've accepted as truth. Your identity shapes the way you think, the way you walk, the way you speak, the way you negotiate, the way you take risks. If deep down you identify as someone who never gets ahead, someone who always struggles, someone who doesn't deserve wealth, your energy will broadcast that story into the world, and the world will reflect it right back to you. People sense when someone doubts themselves. Opportunities slip through the fingers of those who don't believe they're worthy of receiving them. Life mirrors the identity you hold, not the dreams you talk about. The moment you decide to shift your identity, everything changes, not gradually, but instantly. Because identity is not about becoming someone new, it's about shedding the layers that never belonged to you in the first place. It's about saying, I am done living by an outdated script. You write a new internal narrative that aligns with the life you're ready to create. When you claim an identity of strength, worthiness, and capability, your aura expands. It carries a different frequency, one the world responds to with respect and opportunity. Think about people who seem to attract success wherever they go. They're not luckier than you. They've simply built an identity that supports the outcomes they want. They walk with certainty. They speak with clarity. They make decisions without hesitation. They aren't controlled by fear because their identity is linked to possibility, not limitation. Their aura becomes a magnet because their identity says, this is who I am, and this is what my life reflects. Most people try to change their results without changing the identity fueling those results. They fix the symptoms while ignoring the source. They chase strategies, hacks, shortcuts, hoping something will click. But strategy without identity is like trying to drive a sports car while holding down the brakes. You can floor the gas, but you're not going anywhere. Your identity has to release the brake. It has to declare, I am the kind of person who creates wealth. I am the kind of person who takes action. I am the kind of person who follows through. Once you shift that internal belief system, your aura begins pulling in experiences that match your new truth. People engage with you differently. You start seeing opportunities you once overlooked. You're more courageous. You're more decisive. You're more aligned. And because your actions come from a place of identity, not willpower, you no longer have to force change. It becomes your natural rhythm. When your identity evolves, your standards evolve. You stop tolerating what drags you down. You stop entertaining scarcity. You stop making excuses. Your energy becomes cleaner, sharper, more intentional. And people feel that. Wealth feels that. Life feels that. You become a force that cannot be ignored because you're no longer negotiating with the old version of yourself. Identity is the foundation of your aura. It's the blueprint behind every signal you send out into the world. When you upgrade that identity, your energy shifts instantly. Your presence becomes magnetic, and suddenly wealth isn't something you chase, it's something that recognizes you. Because in the end, you never attract what you want, you attract what you believe you are. Your emotional state is the gateway to the wealth you attract. Most people underestimate how powerful this is because they're taught to chase skills, strategies, and effort before they ever learn to master their emotions. But every decision you make, every action you take, every opportunity you notice or miss is filtered through the state you're living in. Your aura reflects that state. Your energy amplifies it. And the world responds to whatever signal you're broadcasting in the moment. When you're living in fear, overwhelm, frustration, or doubt, your energy narrows. Your perspective tightens. You see less possibility and more problems. Your mind becomes a spotlight for everything that could go wrong. And wealth, real abundance, real opportunity doesn't flow towards someone trapped in a state of contraction. It moves toward expansion. It moves toward those who project confidence, certainty, and emotional strength. Not because of magic, but because those states put you in alignment with the behaviors, decisions, and conversations that create wealth. Think about it. When you're in a powerful emotional state, when you're energized, grateful, determined, you approach life differently. You don't hesitate. You don't second guess. You don't shrink. You operate from clarity instead of confusion. You notice solutions instead of obstacles. Your body language shifts. Your tone shifts. Your timing shifts. You take the kind of actions people describe as bold or lucky, but they're not luck at all. They're the natural byproduct of a state that expands your aura into something attractive, magnetic, undeniable. Your emotional home, the emotions you return to every day, is one of the strongest forces shaping your financial destiny. If your emotional home is stress or scarcity, your aura signals struggle. If your emotional home is doubt, your aura says you're not ready. But if your emotional home becomes gratitude, certainty, empowerment, and drive, your aura sends a different message. I am prepared for wealth. I am aligned with abundance. I am open and capable. Emotions are not random. They're habits. Most people wake up and fall straight into the same emotional pattern they lived in yesterday, last week, last month, last year. They carry old feelings into new opportunities and wonder why nothing changes. But the moment you take control of your state, you reclaim your power. You start choosing emotions that serve you rather than letting emotions choose you. You can shift your state in seconds. A change in breath, a change in movement, a change in focus, and suddenly your entire aura recalibrates. You've felt it before, those moments when you stand taller, breathe deeper, speak louder, and everything inside you wakes up. That's the state where possibility opens. That's the state where ideas flow. That's the state where wealth feels drawn to you because your energy is clear, strong, and aligned. When you learn to make elevated emotional states your default, everything around you changes. People trust you more. They want to work with you. They want to follow you. They want to invest in you. Why? Because your emotional state communicates certainty, and certainty is one of the most influential forces on the planet. It's not about pretending. It's about conditioning. It's about training your nervous system to live in a place of strength instead of survival. Wealth is attracted to people who live in emotional leadership, not emotional reaction. When you're reactive, your energy leaks. You become inconsistent, unpredictable, scattered. But when you lead your emotions, when you choose your state intentionally, you send out a signal that says, I am in control of my life. That energy is compelling, it's influential, it's magnetic. Your emotional state determines how you interpret challenges. One state sees obstacles as threats. Another sees them as opportunities to grow stronger. One state hesitates, the other moves forward. One state collapses under pressure, the other becomes sharper. Imagine what happens to your income, your opportunities, your relationships when you start consistently living from the second state. You can't pull wealth toward you with an aura shaped by fear or self-doubt, but you can attract wealth with an aura built on emotional mastery. Because wealth doesn't respond to stress, it responds to certainty. It doesn't follow fear, it follows confidence. It doesn't move toward chaos, it moves toward clarity. Master your emotional state, and you master the frequency your aura broadcasts. And in that state, wealth naturally gravitates toward the power you're becoming, because the emotion you live in daily becomes the energy that shapes your destiny. Your focus is one of the most powerful forces shaping your aura, and it's one of the most underestimated tools people have. Most people let their focus get hijacked by stress, distractions, noise, and other people's agendas. They wake up and immediately hand their attention to their phone, to problems, to obligations, to fear, and then they wonder why their life feels scattered, why wealth feels far away, why they're always busy but rarely progressing. Focus is not just about what you look at intellectually, it's the emotional and energetic investment you give to something. It determines your direction, it determines your momentum, it determines your magnetism. Where focus goes, energy flows, and wherever your energy flows, your life follows. Your focus is a magnet. When you constantly focus on what's missing, you amplify lack. When you focus on what could go wrong, you strengthen fear. When you focus on problems, your aura vibrates with the energy of limitation. And the truth is, wealth can't be attracted through the lens of limitation. It requires a mind tuned to possibility, to solutions, to growth. It requires the kind of focus that strengthens your confidence rather than drains it, because the more you direct your attention toward what empowers you, the more powerful your energy becomes. And the stronger your aura gets, the more wealth feels drawn to you. You've experienced this in your own life. When you're focused, truly dialed in, there's a clarity that fuels you. You move faster, you think sharper, you're more decisive. There's a sense of alignment and purpose that becomes almost electric. But the opposite is true as well. When your focus is scattered, your energy becomes diluted. You start hesitating. You start second guessing. You start doubting. And doubt is one of the greatest destroyers of momentum. That fragmentation shows up in your aura, and people feel it instantly. Opportunities pass by because they don't feel certainty coming from you. Nothing is more expensive than misplaced focus. People think success requires massive effort, but what it really requires is aligned effort, and alignment is created through focus. When your mind is locked onto a compelling vision, your aura becomes more intentional. Your decisions become sharper. Your discipline becomes easier. Your environment starts matching the internal direction you've chosen. Focus doesn't just guide your actions, it shapes your identity. You begin to see yourself differently. You begin to move differently. You begin to speak differently. You start operating from a level of clarity that builds momentum instead of draining it. The world is filled with distractions designed to steal your focus. Comparison, negativity, fear, urgency, chaos. Every distraction pulls at your energy and weakens the signal you're sending into the world. And if your signal is weak, your attraction is weak. Wealth doesn't flow to a scattered mind, it flows to a focused one. It follows the person who knows what they want and directs their energy toward it with consistency. Focus is like turning a dim flashlight into a laser. One is vague and diffused, the other is precise and powerful. One illuminates, the other cuts through steel. Wealth responds to the laser. You have to train your focus the same way you train your body or your habits. You strengthen it by choosing what to ignore. You sharpen it by deciding what matters. You protect it by creating boundaries around your energy. And you elevate it by feeding your mind with thoughts, ideas, and actions that match your vision. Focus is not something you try to maintain, it's something you condition. It's something you build through repetition, consistency, and intentionality. When you learn to focus on possibility instead of problems, your aura shifts instantly. You radiate hope, certainty, and direction. When you focus on solutions instead of setbacks, you become someone who sees paths others miss. When you focus on gratitude instead of frustration, your energy expands. When you focus on what you want instead of what you fear, you stop living in reaction and start living in creation. This is how you turn your aura into a powerful magnet for wealth, by choosing what you feed it through your focus. Your focus dictates your emotional state, your actions, your beliefs, your energy. It dictates what your mind filters in and what it filters out. If you keep your vision at the center of your attention, your aura will pull resources toward you. If you keep your goals alive through focus, opportunities will begin aligning with your steps. And when your focus stays consistent long enough, your energy becomes unstoppable. People can't ignore someone with unwavering focus. Life can't ignore them. Wealth can't ignore them. Every day, you're either training your focus to work for you or letting the world train it to work against you. You have to decide what you're going to magnify. You have to decide what you're going to empower with your attention. Because whatever you focus on becomes your experience. And whatever becomes your experience shapes your aura, and your aura is attracting your future right now. Focus is not just power, it is direction. And the direction you choose determines the abundance you attract. Because wealth flows toward the person whose mind is locked on possibility and whose focus fuels their destiny. Your mind is the command center of your aura, and the rituals you practice every day are what shape that command center. Most people think that mindset is something that magically shifts when life gets better, when circumstances improve, when success finally arrives. But the truth is, mindset isn't a reaction to life, it's the architect of life. Your aura, your energy, your confidence, your expectations, they're all created through the conditioning you repeatedly put yourself through. You don't attract wealth because you hope for it. You attract wealth because you train your mind to expect it, prepare for it, and align with it. Conditioning your mind means understanding that your thoughts are not random. They're patterns. They're programs. And most people are running mental programs they never consciously chose. Programs they absorbed from family, from society, from fear, from failure. Programs designed for survival, not abundance. If you wake up every day and feed your mind anxiety, uncertainty, distraction, and scarcity, your aura will reflect that vibration. And that vibration repels wealth because wealth requires clarity, certainty, and expansion. Your habits determine the story your mind tells your energy, and your energy determines what you attract. The mind doesn't shift because you read a quote or have a good day. It shifts through repetition, through rituals that fortify a new identity and forge a new energetic frequency. When you create rituals that reinforce empowerment, gratitude, focus, and strength, your mind begins to accept those states as your new normal. It stops defaulting to fear and begins defaulting to possibility. It stops reacting emotionally to every challenge and starts responding from a place of power. Conditioning creates consistency, and consistency creates magnetism. You've probably had moments in your life where you felt unstoppable moments, where everything flowed, where your confidence was high, where your decisions were sharp. But if those moments didn't last, it wasn't because you weren't capable. It's because you didn't anchor them through ritual. Anything you want to sustain, you must condition. Just like you can't build a strong body by working out once, you can't build a wealthy aura by thinking positively once. Conditioning turns inspiration into transformation. Rituals are not just routines, they are signals to your nervous system that say, this is who I am now. When you wake up and prime your mind with gratitude, visualization, breath, or movement, you're not just motivating yourself, you're calibrating your energy. You're setting the tone for your aura before the world has a chance to influence it. When you repeatedly affirm and visualize the life you're building, your mind begins to reorganize itself around that vision. Thoughts shift, emotions shift, decisions shift, and eventually your identity shifts. Your aura becomes a reflection of the internal world you intentionally cultivate. There's a profound difference between a mind that is conditioned and one that is not. A conditioned mind doesn't crumble in uncertainty, it adapts. It doesn't collapse under pressure, it sharpens. It doesn't fear challenges, it welcomes them because it knows every challenge strengthens the magnet. A conditioned mind doesn't get thrown off by setbacks because it understands setbacks are part of the process, part of the growth, part of the evolution. And when your mind is steady, your aura becomes steady. When your mind is strong, your energy becomes strong. When your mind is aligned with abundance, abundance aligns with you. One of the most powerful things conditioning gives you is self-trust. People think confidence comes from achievement, but real confidence, the kind that radiates through your aura, comes from repetition. It comes from knowing you consistently show up for yourself. Your rituals build that trust. They reinforce day after day that you are someone who follows through, someone who chooses power over excuses, someone who leads themselves regardless of circumstances. And when your actions match your identity, your energy becomes congruent, and congruent energy is magnetic. Conditioning your mind also protects your aura. It safeguards your focus, your emotional state, your direction. Without rituals, your environment dictates your energy. But with rituals, your energy dictates your environment. You choose your state instead of reacting to the world. You choose your frequency instead of being pulled by negativity. You choose what thoughts to feed and which ones to starve. That level of inner leadership turns your aura into a beacon that wealth gravitates toward. People can feel the difference between someone who occasionally tries to be positive and someone who has trained their mind for abundance. One is fragile, the other is unshakable. One is inconsistent, the other is grounded. One chases wealth, the other attracts it. Conditioning makes your energy undeniable. It gives you an internal stability that makes opportunities want to attach themselves to you because people trust energy that is consistent, confident, and clear. When you commit to rituals that strengthen your mind, you're not just improving your mood, you're rewiring your identity. You're sculpting the energetic field you operate in. You're turning your aura into a magnet that effortlessly pulls wealth, relationships, ideas, and breakthroughs toward you. The question isn't whether you're capable, it's whether you're willing to condition the version of you that already is. Because when you train your mind with intention, your aura becomes a force the world can't help but respond to. Aligned massive action is the catalyst that turns an empowered aura into real-world wealth. You can master your energy, strengthen your identity, elevate your emotional state, and sharpen your focus, but until you take action that matches the frequency you've built, nothing moves. The universe responds to motion. It responds to momentum. It responds to the person who's willing to step into the arena instead of staying in the stands hoping life magically changes. Action is the bridge between your internal magnet and the external results you desire. It's the moment your aura signals, I'm not just thinking like the person I want to become, I'm behaving like them. Most people stop at intention. They say they're ready. They say they're committed. They say they want change. But their actions tell a different story. Energy alone won't attract wealth if your actions contradict the vibration you're trying to send. You can't claim abundance with your mind and then operate from hesitation. You can't embody certainty in your heart and then take timid steps. Your aura becomes truly magnetic when your energy and your actions move in the same direction, with the same intensity, with the same belief. There's a moment in every transformation where you have to cross the threshold between who you were and who you're becoming. That moment is uncomfortable. That moment is uncertain. That moment requires courage. But aligned action gives your aura proof that you're serious, that you're committed, that you're ready. Action grounds your energy. It reinforces your identity. It amplifies your focus. You're telling the universe, meet me halfway, I'm already moving. The people who attract wealth consistently are not just the people with strong mindsets. They're the people who pair that mindset with decisive action. They don't wait for perfect timing. They don't overthink every detail. They don't let fear of mistakes keep them still. They move. They adapt. They adjust. They learn. They course correct. And every step they take strengthens their aura, because action builds confidence, action builds clarity, action builds momentum, and momentum creates magnetism. One of the biggest myths people fall into is thinking they need certainty before taking action. But certainty isn't something you wait for. Certainty is something you create by acting. The more steps you take, the more aligned you feel. The more aligned you feel, the more opportunities begin to flow. You become someone who doesn't just attract wealth, you become someone wealth trusts. Because wealth gravitates to individuals who move with intention, who take responsibility, who aren't afraid to show up fully. Aligned action doesn't mean reckless action. It means purposeful action, action that matches the person you are becoming. If your identity is shifting towards strength, your actions reflect strength. If your emotional state is shifting toward confidence, your actions reflect confidence. If your focus is shifting toward possibility, your actions reflect possibility. Every choice becomes an expression of your upgraded aura. And soon, opportunities that once felt out of reach begin to feel obvious. Not because the world suddenly changed, but because your energy did, and your actions finally matched that energy. There will always be fear in the beginning. Fear of failing, fear of judgment, fear of losing time, money, or pride. But the difference between people who attract massive wealth and those who don't is simple. They move anyway. They don't wait for fear to disappear. They just refuse to let it direct the course of their life. Action transforms fear into fuel. The moment you step forward, fear loses its grip. And with every step you take, your aura grows stronger, clearer, more powerful. The truth is, the world doesn't respond to thoughts alone. It responds to expressed intention, intention demonstrated through consistent, courageous action. When you take aligned steps, you activate a chain reaction. You meet people you never would have met. You stumble into opportunities you never would have found. You discover abilities you didn't know you had. Your vision becomes sharper because action gives you feedback, and feedback gives you mastery. And mastery gives your aura an unmistakable gravitational pull. You can think like a champion. You can feel like a champion. You can visualize like a champion. But it's only when you act like a champion that the world sees you as one. That's when your aura sends out a signal so strong, so clear, so consistent that wealth begins to lean in your direction. People want to work with you. They want to invest in you. They want to collaborate with you. They want to bet on you. Because your energy communicates one simple truth. You're not waiting, you're creating. Aligned action is the final piece that completes the magnetic field you've been building through your mindset, your identity, your emotional state, your focus, and your conditioning. It's the moment everything locks into place. And once you commit to acting in alignment with the person you're becoming, life starts reorganizing itself around your movement. Because when your actions match your energy, wealth has no choice but to move toward you.